Sweet. All right. Welcome. I think we should be on everywhere. This time, by the way, so yesterday Periscope eluded me a little bit. And this time I believe that it has actually worked, or at least it's supposed to. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I also have Instagram. I'm running Instagram from a little bit more fancy of a side. We're running from the Windows thing instead of from Ubuntu. Anyway, some stuff came. So yesterday I talked about the comma thing, and I went on for way too long. I didn't realize until the end that I'd gone for almost an hour. It just speaks to how long I can talk. So what I'm going to do today is instead of trying to talk for a bunch, we are going to just. I'm going to go quick. I want to talk a little bit about I want to follow up on the comments thing, and then I have one little thing I want to talk about that has to do with the OA, and we will go from there. So let me just check. User was live. Yeah, I don't understand how Periscope works, but whatever. We're going to roll forward because that's what we do. I'm going to check on my comments and things. So Facebook's good, YouTube is good, and we'll go. So I should have looked this up yesterday. I should have went and got this while I was doing the stream because it would have, I think, made it a little bit more interesting. But I actually have the style guide from when I was in college. This is the Joseph M. Williams Style Guide. This is edition, I don't know, the 9th edition. I got this. In fact, it's funny. I have I had a bookmark in here. Well, I did at some point. Maybe I threw it away. But it was the receipt. And this book cost me $40 when I was in college. It's pretty ridiculous. Also, I don't know if you can hear behind me, but we got a new little robotic vacuum thingy, which Wick absolutely hates. But I think that's pretty par for the course for dogs and robotic vacuums. But anyway, let's go back here. Anyway, I have the style guide, and I wanted to jump in here and read. There's a lot of stuff that I could go into, but I want to give the main. I'm going to read from the style guide the main rules. Okay. So, number one: always separate an introductory element from the subject if a reader might misunderstand the structure of the sentence. That meaning something like "however," comma, or "therefore," comma. Right, along that way. That's something that we definitely want to do. Number two, never end an introductory clause or phrase with a semicolon, meaning a semicolon is only used to separate a complete sentence, like a full thought, a complete, I forget, an independent clause, I think is what it's called, from the rest of the sentence. So you wouldn't say therefore semicolon. That's not really what we were talking about. And then do not put a comma after a coordinating or subordinating conjunction if the next element of the clause is its subject. Which I don't know what really that means. I probably need to look that up. Oh, here's the receipt. It's right here. And then put a comma after a short introductory word or phrase if it comments on the whole of the following sentence or if it connects one sentence to another. And yeah, so essentially kind of the stuff that we talked about yesterday. The important thing is realizing that there are rules, and it really has to do with, I think this is the important thing. It really has to do with whether somebody reading could misunderstand what you're writing. And this actually, so wasn't going to say this, but I can't help myself. What's more important is that you know whether or not your sentence or whatever could be misunderstood. I think that's the important thing to realize, is that if it could be misunderstood, meaning somebody could read it and they could think that you meant something else, then you probably need to change something, right? And the point there is when you're writing something, you got to go back and reread it and think, how could somebody misunderstand what I'm writing? So if you put a comma in the wrong place, like what we were talking about yesterday, let's see if I can pull this up. Archive. So what he said was, Ovi isn't what you would call untrained. The kid who got starch, comma, is in fact, comma, untrained. it's probably not that big of a deal because nobody's going to misunderstand what you're writing. But the problem is that you can create it's obvious, it's easy to create a misunderstanding if you don't know what you're doing and if you don't do it right. So that's kind of the point there. So again, commas, get them right, and I'll leave that at that. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is the show The OA. Okay, so we watched the first season of The OA long time ago, and it's a good show. It's a very interesting show, and I like the way that they play on what we can't know, and so they try and make it sort of scientific. That's actually the reason. There was another show called Fringe that I really liked for the same reason, because it was there's the vacuum, because the show was designed to kind of explore what they called fringe science, which isn't really like real science, but it goes to places that are interesting, right? These things about like alternate dimensions and this was like one of the first shows to really talk about people crossing between alternate versions of reality, alternate dimensions, and I thought it was really fun. But the OA is interesting in that same regard because it's talking about how, it talks a lot about how you can jump between universes and how everything's connected. But the thing that I wanted to talk about today is there's a point in this new season of the OA, and this is kind of a spoiler, but kind of not really a spoiler because it's just part of the exposition of the season, where they discover that there's a company that had been I don't even know how to really say it. They had been analyzing people's dreams, right? And what they had found is that the dreams could be somewhat predictive, or at least they thought they were predictive, kind of. And they started to make a point that the dreams, you could use the dreams to tell the future. They ended up, so I won't give it away. It ends up changing a little bit towards the end of the season. But I was really frustrated, and I'll tell you why. I haven't told anybody except Sue about this, but I am writing a novel. Just started writing it a couple of weeks ago, and it's based on a similar concept. And I was really frustrated because I was like, I can't write this novel now because the OA just used that idea. But it turns out they were using it a little bit differently. But the crux of the novel and sort of the point of it is there's a couple of pieces to it. One part is dealing with the complexity of somebody who has left a religion and then being faced with a situation where he has to perform, he has to do something from his religious past, but he doesn't know if the only way for him to do it correctly is to like really believe it. So it's this weird sort of juxtaposition of, he's tasked with completing a religious, like basically praying, but he doesn't know if he can because he's left and he doesn't really believe it anymore. So anyway, that's kind of the basic story, but there's this whole element of dreams being predictors of the future. And it's kind of exciting. Anyway, so and by the way, that concept may have been used before. I don't know. I'm not really good at the research aspect of like going into I haven't really done research to see if someone's already written that book. So anyway, but it's gonna be kind of fun, be kind of exciting, and it's I don't want to give too much away right now because it's still in its infancy. But the way that I came to the idea for the book is powerful to me. It's really cool because the book is based on how the book idea came to me. Anyway, it's kind of weird. So anyway, that's kind of all that I wanted to talk about. The OA, I don't want to go into any spoilers on the season because in case someone's going to watch it, but I really, really I was very fascinated with the way they ended season 2 because it's a twist. It's a twist that you wouldn't be expecting, and it's a theme that I have long wanted to be explored a little bit more. Like I'm going to try and not give too much away, but I really want to talk about it. it's kind of similar to like the fourth wall break scenario, like what we see with like Deadpool, where he breaks the fourth wall. He's talking to us, the audience, about the fact that he's in a movie, right? And that's then like I don't know if you've seen Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead or read the book. I think it's a book or a play or something, but there's a movie made with it's Tim Roth and I forget who the other guy is, but it's the same idea. But I've always been interested with the idea of characters in books and movies being cognizant of the fact that they are a character in a book and then somehow breaking into reality using the same tools that we use to create characters in books and movies. They reverse and then they can become real. Anyway, it's just kind of a fun thing. So that's basically all we got there. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about today, I wasn't going to talk about this till tomorrow, but we're actually going to be on the road tomorrow, so I don't know if I'm going to do a stream. It's this idea about, I saw an article in Inc. magazine that just confirmed something that I have long believed, which is that certain types of music are dramatically effective in boosting your productivity, and other types are not. And you may have figured this out anecdotally, just through life. You may have seen that this has been the case, like just because. And but I have noticed that that certain types of music, depending on what I'm doing, can either enhance or detract my ability to move forward. Now, what they say, I'm going to just read off some of the stuff that they say and then talk about my experiences, and you may be similar to this. But they say that music with lyrics will kill your productivity, like any music with lyrics. I found that kind of to be the case, but not really, especially if it's music that you already know, or if what you're doing doesn't require a lot of planning or oversight. It's just something you can just sort of go and power through, has been the case for me. They say familiar music is best for focus, which goes in line with what I was just saying about how if it's music that I know, I can get away with there being lyrics to it. But they say that if it's music that's familiar to you, your brain isn't taking up any energy trying to like process the music that's coming through. I've also found that I get the same effect of familiar music when it's a familiar type of music. Like one of the things that I really like about electronic and dubstep music is that it follows a pattern, and the pattern is recognizable. And so you can kind of get around that familiar aspect if you're listening to that type of music. In fact, there's a playlist on Spotify called Brain Food. It's absolutely the best productivity music for me. I'll turn it on, put headphones in, or I'll turn it on here, and I will get more done in like no time, in such a short time than I normally will over a long period. So it's something to take a look at if you haven't ever used that playlist, Brain Food on Spotify. The next thing they say is that listening to music during repetitive tasks helps you complete them quicker with fewer errors and less boredom, which again is kind of like what I was just talking about. So if you've got good music and it's a task that you're kind of doing over and over again. Recently I was setting up a bunch of upsells in an e-commerce platform, and it was the same thing that I had to go through. I just had to do a different ID each time, and I just turned on that same playlist, the what's it called, the Brain Food playlist, and it just like I got through it. I in my head I was like, this is going to take me 12 hours, and it took me 2, because you just get into a rhythm and everything else gets blocked out, and you just go through it. So that was awesome. The next thing they say I thought was very interesting, but it's something that to a certain extent I believe, because it's how it is worked with me. For cognitive tasks, they say, meaning something you actually have to think about, no music is best with one exception. And I'm just going to read this to you so you can kind of see this. Research from Ohio Wesleyan University shows that relaxing, repetitive, low information load background music improves concentration, focus, and performance while reducing stress, even more so than working in silence. So they're saying things like waterfalls and like rain sounds and like maybe like outdoors, like crickets, like those types of sounds can have a huge effect. And then classical music as well, they say, it can help with recognition and performance and on cognitive tasks, things like that, especially if you're studying for a test or something like that. I found that same effect. I get that same effect when I am listening to that brain food playlist, which is kind of like low key dubstep, is what it is. It's not like the super. If I really, really want to get like cranking on something, I'll turn on the real dubstep, like the hard, the louder stuff. But if I just need something to like occupy my brain so that I can focus, like occupy like the lizard part of my brain so I can focus, I will just turn on that brain food playlist, turn it on in the background. I usually will get it up pretty loud, but just sort of let it go, and it'll make that happen. Then they also talk the last two is they say upbeat music can boost physical performance, which I think we all can probably relate to. If you're listening to like some hip hop or some rock music, or maybe like some AC/DC or something while you're lifting or while you're running, it can help you perform better. I know that's the case for me. That's definitely I've seen that happen. But the interesting thing is you have to be careful, because certain types of music can actually. This is a weird thing that it's been my experience. I don't know if it's the same for you, but there's a line you can cross where if the music is too intense, like it's upbeat, but it's like too intense and not in a. It's almost like it has to be emotionally intense, meaning it's a song that you have a connection to and that you really like. That can boost your performance, but other types of music can actually exhaust you by creating. It's the weirdest. I don't know exactly how this works, but it creates like a stress environment where your heart and your brain start working in overdrive because of the inputs. It's this weird thing where it can actually overtax you and get you exhausted too early. Almost like it can fuel the fire of the anticipation. And the anticipation can then like get your heart rate going. I know that when I first started fighting, I had to listen to classical music while I was waiting to go to the ring, because if I listened to anything upbeat, like my heart would just start pounding, and I would be my first fight. And this is with listening to classical music, my heart started pounding beforehand. It was like I had already fought 5 rounds when the first bell rang. So it's just interesting when you're talking about physical performance. There's a fine line you have to walk. On the other side of the coin, though, I can be at the end of a 3-hour. This has happened to me. I can be at the end of a 3-hour training session, drenched in sweat, exhausted completely, and then a song will come on the radio or overhead at the gym. And it will be just the right combination of like a familiar song and upbeat, and and it's not the same genre every time. It's just something that hits that spot, and it will just give me this boost of energy, which can help me push through and like continue to perform a little bit better, and get a little bit better workout in. So, I think it has more to do with the effect that it has on your brain and what you think you can accomplish than your actual physical performance. And then the last thing is listening to music between tasks can boost productivity. And that makes sense too, like just helping to clear your mind so that your mind isn't like sifting through the clutter of what you just did. But, like if you're doing homework or if you're studying and then you're taking a break and then going to something else, listening to music can help that sort of happen a little bit better. So it's been really interesting to me to see the effect of a familiar song that I have an emotional connection to, like, and it's all over the place. Sometimes like a Rage Against the Machine will come on at the gym and I'll get fired up because I love that music. And sometimes, like there was one time when you're going to laugh at this, but I went to high school with Lindsey Sterling. I don't know if you know who Lindsey Sterling is, but she's she's the hip hop violinist. And she's huge now in the YouTube world. She tours the country. Like she's doing amazing, which is awesome. I actually went and saw her live a couple of times here in San Diego. But there was a time when I had never heard the song before, but I can recognize her style of playing. A Lindsey Sterling song came on at the gym, which was kind of random because they usually don't play that type of music. And that gave me that same sort of push, that same sort of energy. And I think it's because I have a connection. I know her from high school. And I I get excited about the fact that she's so successful at what she's doing, and that was something that I don't think anybody really believed that she could. Anyway, there's a lot of cool emotion that goes behind it, but I think that solidifies for me the fact that the music that's familiar in an emotional way can bypass your physical response. Like your brain and your body are talking to each other, and that emotion can come in and like give a boost to what your brain is receiving as your body's capability, so to speak. So, and I think it's true also for not just physical tasks, but like cognitive tasks and stuff as well. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that listening to music can have such an effect. I liked it because I've known that to be the case for me for a long time. I know that, if I'm going to listen to music, normally what I'll do is, and then I'm done talking about this. Normally what I'll do is I don't listen to music or listen to anything really if I'm just like going through setting things up or trying to like create things because I need all of my brain power. But anytime I need to go do something and I need to focus, I'll just turn it on, and that puts me into like go mode, right? It puts me into like, okay, now I can sit and I can actually make this thing happen. So kind of cool, kind of exciting and kind of fun. So next time, what I want to do is, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this because I don't know how to show my screen yet. I don't know the best way to do that and keep this vertical format. But what I want to do is take you through some of the enhancements that I've been able to make in my own personal workflow by using command line programs instead of web-based or interface-based programs. Some of the things I've been able to get to and like set up specifically based on in fact, I'll just show you a little preview right now. And hopefully this doesn't mess with my connection. But this right here is my workstation, essentially. And I'm going to see if I can't show this correctly using my... Yeah, there we go. So you can see this right here. On the side, I've got burn down charts for like my tasks. I've got time tracking here. I've got the weather. I've got projects that I'm working on. I got my current tasks that I'm dealing with. And then I've got this over here, which is like my terminal where I interact with all the things that I'm doing and all of my different apps and the things that I'm working with. So it's kind of cool. I want to kind of go through a little bit of what led me to get into that and what's been fun about it, what's been exciting, and what I really like about it. Yeah, we'll go from there on that. So anyway, like I promised I would keep this one shorter, and I'm going to do that. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I will, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow or over the weekend, but we'll be back at it on Monday. So peace out. And again, like I said yesterday, this is going to take me like a minute and a half to shut down. So feel free to leave and I'll talk to you later. Okay.